Good morning and welcome to our daily word. Thank you for joining me as we continue our journey together through scripture and our daily word and how it guides our lives. So, thanks for your prayers yesterday. Hopefully, what they've done for me has made a big difference. Actually, I'm as pain free as I have been, years actually, in my hip and in my knee. And so I'm thankful for that. And so hopefully this continues and eventually I will end up with a permanent um, pain relief that will be implanted in my back and that will do the trick for me. So thanks for your prayers yesterday and for your encouragement. I appreciate that. So you can see I'm home this morning. I'm going to work from home today and then go to church this afternoon to prepare for our event we had to cancel last night because I wasn't up for it. Our summer solstice event. Doesn't matter if you've RSVP'd, come anyway. There's plenty of food as always. So come and share in that time together with all of us. And I think you're going to enjoy that tonight. So, and folks are going to come help, which I appreciate because I have these BLT restrictions: no bending, no lifting, no twisting. So I'm trying to be really, really careful until this is taken out on Monday. So today is daily word number 739, and we continue our journey together on this Thursday morning. I've chosen a scripture that probably we have heard and read and seen people post in the midst of difficult times or when they think that we're going to hell in a handbasket kind of stuff. People like to post the scripture and implore somebody else to do something. But I'd like to think that this scripture from 2 Chronicles chapter 7 verse 14 is really a personal thing. So hear me out. But first the scripture. Then, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sins and restore their land. Now, it seems to me that in moments of crisis, in moments of national crisis or world crisis, when we disagree with what's happening around us, for whatever the reasons are, that we kind of post this and say, look, if you all would just pray and humble yourselves, God would change this situation. And I really think as I read this text and think about what it means for us and the implications for us, I really think that this scripture, this call to humble ourselves and to pray and to seek God's face and to turn from wicked ways is a personal one that begins with me. I know that, we want our communities to be better. We want our schools to be better. We want our neighborhoods to be better. We want our churches to be better. We have all these ideas and dreams. But it seems to me that for communities to change, for places to be better, for schools and churches to be better, for neighborhoods, for families, even for that matter, for them to be better, we have to expect ourselves, the individual, you and me, to drive the change within that particular community. And this change, I believe, begins with what 2 Chronicles calls us to: humbling ourselves, seeking God, praying, turning from our wicked ways. Now, those are pretty harsh words, I know, but turning around, I believe that begins with us, because you see, I think sometimes we often, too often, very often, almost all the time, probably try to control what's not ours to control, namely the choices of others. We in our society now, not maybe not you and I, but in our society, We like to hurl accusations. We like to yell and scream at each other, at other members of our community, assuming, right? Assuming that we are all good ourselves. But humility within a community, within a family, within wherever we find ourselves, begins with us, with you and me individually, seeking God, leading by example and not by demand. We just can't control others. We try, but we just can't control others. It begins with us. So we the influence that you and I can have in the world begins with our own humbling ourselves and praying and seeking God. And it begins in a powerful way. And it really begins, with how we treat each other. So yesterday, I had to be at the hospital, and I was lucky Kelsey was able to get off work and take me because this was such short notice. I mean, they called me in the middle of the afternoon the day before saying, we had a cancellation, Jim, do you want to come? And so I took it, not knowing that my original July date was going to hold. And so I took it. And so Kelsey took off work to take me. And of course, immediately back in there, I'm friends, of course, with the nurses and the anesthesiologists and the staff. And then afterwards, I'm having these big conversations with the folks who are caring for me afterwards. And we were laughing, and Kelsey came in. She's not surprised that I'm having these conversations with folks. And Kelsey said, so, Dad, did you tell them what you do for a living? Because you all know that I don't like to give up my HIPAA about that, because sometimes when you say you're a pastor, people treat you differently, and I don't want that. But I told them, and boy, did we have some great conversations. And I was telling the representatives from the company my story, the company that makes this device, and they were shocked. But they said, "Why you're smiling and you're upbeat and you're." I said, I have to be. I mean, this is tough. The constant pain is tough, but I've learned recently, and it's from the scripture, I've tried to be humble, and just face life as it comes. And that's really what we're called to. Change in our world, in our community, in our families begins with each one of us committing to this life of character, to focus on what we can do best in this life, and then have it make a difference in those around us. So when we take the notion to post this scripture saying, look, I've got it figured out, now you all humble yourselves and pray, it should turn itself back on you and me. We should humble ourselves and pray and seek God's face and turn from our wicked ways, and let that example filter into our community in the world, so that we can. And I know that many of you do that already. I mean, I know. We've shared the stories together of the tough places we've been in school or in community settings, where we've made the choice to humble ourselves and pray and to seek God. And that's what really we're called to. So thanks for always doing that, and for the, hundreds of people who've reached out to me the last couple of days. It is humbling to know that many people have said they'll pray. And that's what we're called to. So friends, I hope this is a good word for us today as we share our lives together and as we continue to humble ourselves. Hope you'll come tonight to our summer solstice gathering. We have lots of good food, and we're going to seek together to shed the darkness of spring and winter and be ready for the glorious summer that's ahead of us. So thanks for joining me this morning. Hope you'll join me again tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, and tonight specifically at 6 o'clock. Know of God's love that surrounds you, and know of my love for you, and I am humbled by your love and your grace in my life. Have a great day.